Having an emergency fund in place is one of the most important things when it comes to creating true wealth. We all know that, right? But do you really know where you need to keep your emergency fund? It is not as simple as you might think, and as you know me, I always try to optimize every aspect of my investment strategy. So today we are going to explore all the different options of where you can store your emergency fund in South Africa, and then I will also tell you what my best strategy is, so make sure to stay tuned for that as well. Hey guys, my name is Pieter. I am a vet who likes to talk about money. Alright, so let's quickly just chat about what an emergency fund is and why you actually need one. It is rather self-explanatory. If an unexpected emergency strikes, like your car breaks down, your geyser bursts, or your pet needs surgery, you may need to have to fork out a ton of money. And these things tend to happen in threes. Usually when you really do not have any room left in your monthly budget to pay for them. Now, what usually happens when your expenses exceed your income is that you need to borrow money to pay the deficit. And seeing that these things need to be paid quickly, desperate times will call for desperate measures, which means you will either have to take out credit card debt or a personal loan, both of which have horrendous interest rates that will put a nasty brake on your ability to build wealth over time. And this simple reason is why you need an emergency fund. Instead of taking on paralyzing debt, you can simply take a bite out of the pile of rainy day savings that you've gathered over the months. So an emergency fund basically serves as a nice cushion for, well, emergencies, which not only softens the blow of an unexpected financial emergency, but also gives you the peace of mind that you don't have to desperately scramble around to find money should something terrible happen. Now, before exploring all the different options of where you can store your emergency fund, let's first look at a couple of important criteria to keep in mind. Emergencies tend to be urgent. If your geyser bursts, you cannot wait a whole week to repair it. If your dog needs urgent surgery to save its life, you don't have the luxury to wait a month. So, your emergency fund needs to be easily accessible and you need to have quick access to it. Seeing that you can't predict when emergencies will happen, you want your emergency fund to be as flexible as possible, both for depositing and for withdrawing money. You ideally want to pay as low fees as possible with an emergency fund, as high fees can potentially erode the value of your money over time. An emergency fund is not an investment, and the return should not be compared to those of shares, property, or even bonds. With investments in general, the higher the risk is, the higher the return will be. So using this logic, an emergency fund will be a low risk, low return product. So don't put your emergency fund in the stock market, because if the stock market should crash, as we've experienced twice now in the past 2 years, and you need to desperately sell your investments off at a loss to pay for an emergency, you will lose a lot of money. Also, tying it up in a physical property is not a good idea either. Selling a property takes a long time, and if you need your emergency fund urgently, this will not work. Tying in with the low risk criteria, you ideally want to put your emergency fund somewhere where your capital is guaranteed, meaning that you will get out the same amount or even more than what you put in. This helps to better plan ahead, as you need the security to know exactly how much you have in your savings to cover unexpected expenses. You also want your emergency fund to at least earn some interest. Again, it is not an investment, so you shouldn't try and get the highest return possible. But it should at least grow close to what the inflation rate is in order to preserve the purchasing power of your money. Okay, so now that we have our checklist ready for an emergency fund, let's look at a couple of options of where you can keep it. The most obvious option will be to keep it in a simple savings account with the bank. With these accounts, you usually do not have to pay any fees. The money is instantly available to you, and you can top it up and withdraw from it as often as you'd like. Your capital and interest are guaranteed, so there's no risk of losing any money. The one downside is that these accounts do not offer very good interest rates, as it is usually far below the inflation rate. Another very popular option is to keep your emergency fund in your home loan. By putting extra money into your bond, you are essentially reducing the interest you pay on your bond, which can save you quite a lot of money over the long run. Now, while this does give you access to large amounts of cash instantly, there is a caveat to this. Contrary to what you might believe, your bank is under no obligation to advance any money to you. So your ability to access this line of credit is not guaranteed. And if you suddenly want to withdraw a large amount of cash from your bond, say for instance 100,000 Rand, your bank may become suspicious and may require you to do another affordability exercise. If you lost your job, for example, how will you be able to show your bank that you can still service the loan? And even if the withdrawal gets approved, your monthly installments are likely to increase, which can cause even more problems to your cash flow constraints. Some people rely on credit cards for their emergency fund. And although this does make sense in theory, meaning you have instant access to a decent amount of credit, this is a very dangerous game to play where you might end up burning your fingers quite badly. Most credit cards have an interest-free period of between 30 and 55 days, which means you won't have to pay any interest on the amount borrowed during this time. So yes, if you urgently need to pay for an emergency, then you can use a credit card, but then you need to absolutely make sure you can repay your credit card debt before the end of the interest-free period. Otherwise, you will get clocked with interest rates above 15%, and this can quickly spiral out of control. So if you are not completely confident that you know what you are doing, then don't even consider this. The next option is to put your emergency fund in a money market unit trust. These unit trusts are usually low risk and tend to offer higher returns than just normal bank savings accounts, thereby preserving the buying power of your money against inflation. You also have quick access to them and full flexibility on when you want to deposit and withdraw your money. But as with any investment, they also have their downsides. Although it is a low risk investment, your capital is not completely guaranteed as it is with a normal bank savings account. Money market funds usually invest in cash instruments issued by the government, corporates and banks. So losses can occur if one of the issuers of an instrument the funds invest in defaults, or in other words, if they go bankrupt. Although this is unlikely to happen, it is still a small risk that you need to be aware of. The risk is the trade-off you get by potentially earning higher returns. And seeing that they are unit trust, you will also have to pay a management fee to the guy or gal who manages the fund. And then we also get fixed deposits. This is basically where you tie up your money with the bank for a certain period of time. The benefits here are that your capital and interest are guaranteed, and that fixed deposits tend to offer much better interest rates than just normal bank savings accounts. But because you are tying up your money, you won't have instant access to it. You will either have to wait out the period until your investment date expires, or you will have to submit an early withdrawal request, which tends to come with very high penalties, which is not ideal at all. You can also not top up your fixed deposit, so you will have to open a new account each time you want to add some more money. Now, I hope I don't even have to say this, but keeping your emergency fund in a cookie jar under your mattress is probably the worst thing that you could possibly do. Yes, you will have quick and easy access to it with a lot of flexibility and no fees, but there is a high risk that someone will break into your house or that your house will burn down. So your capital is not really guaranteed. Also, it is not like your Mandelas will start to reproduce by themselves under your bed. You will earn no interest and will effectively lose, on average, 6% of your money's value due to the eroding effect of inflation, which is not ideal at all. Alright, so we saw that each option had its own pros and cons. So what exactly is the best strategy for an emergency fund in South Africa? I personally don't prefer any of the options alone, but I do think that a combination of a couple of them can be quite powerful, as you can utilize the benefits of one to offset the drawbacks of the other. So here's what I would do. I would split my emergency fund into 3 parts: the emergency fund, the security fund, and then the opportunity fund. The emergency fund is basically the fund that you will need to have instant access to when it's the fan. You want to have full flexibility, pay no fees, and you want to make sure that your capital and interest are guaranteed so that you can know exactly how much you have available should something terrible happen. As a trade-off, you shouldn't worry too much about the interest rate. So the best option that fits into this picture is just a normal savings account with whatever bank you are currently with. I'd like to keep at least 1 month's worth of living expenses over here. Okay, but we know that if we keep all our money in a bank savings account, it will lose a lot of value due to inflation, as currently you will struggle to earn more than 3% interest on these accounts. That is why we need to try and supplement this loss with higher return options. So the second third of my emergency fund, aka the security fund, will go to the gold savings accounts with TimeBank. I will probably make a full review on TimeBank in the future, but just in short, you can basically open 10 different gold savings accounts and you can put in a maximum of 100,000 Rand across all your different accounts. The interest you receive is based on a sliding scale with a maximum of 6% if your money is kept there for more than 90 days. This is almost double what you will receive from other banks and is still higher than our current inflation rate, which means it will help preserve and even grow the value of your money. With TimeBank, your money is quickly and easily accessible, your capital and interest are guaranteed, there is next to no risk, and you don't have to pay any fees. The only trade-off is flexibility. Although you can deposit as often as you'd like, if you want to withdraw money, you need to empty the whole pocket. And then if you want to invest in that pocket again, you will start at the lower interest rate again and will thus have to wait another 90 days to earn that juicy 6% interest. So for this reason, I will split my money equally across the 10 different accounts so that I only have to empty one pocket at a time. Now the key here is to first use your emergency fund for your day-to-day emergencies. If you take money out of it, then make sure to replace it first. If an emergency hits that exceeds what you have in this fund, then you can start to pick off one pocket at a time. But as soon as you empty a TimeBank Gold Savings pocket, then just put 1 Rand back into it so that your investment period can restart again. Now for the majority of people, this strategy will be good enough. Put 1 month's worth of living expenses in a savings account with your bank and then split the rest equally across 10 different gold savings accounts with TimeBank. But for those who have a massive emergency fund, the 100,000 Rand cap with TimeBank may result in you still having some money left over. An easy solution to this first world problem is to just open another account in the name of your spouse and then to utilize that 100,000 Rand cap as well. If it is still not enough, or if you are not married, then you can move on to the next step, the opportunity fund. For this step, you basically have one of two options. Either you can tie it up in a 3-month fixed deposit with your bank, or you can invest it in a money market unit trust. For a fixed deposit, you can check out this cool website to see what the best rates are on fixed deposits at various banks in South Africa. Currently, African Bank offers an effective interest rate of 4.5%. For a money market unit trust, there are many different options available. Now, instead of boring you with all of them, I will just recommend the best one that I know of, the Allan Gray Money Market Fund, which has returned 4.5% over the past year and 6.4% on average over the past 10 years. It has one of the lowest total investment charges of 0.29%, and it is a very popular choice amongst investors. Both of these options will ensure that the value of your emergency fund is preserved, which again offsets the low savings rate that you will receive at your bank, albeit for some small trade-offs like lack of flexibility with a fixed deposit and a small risk that you may lose some capital with a money market fund. I personally prefer the money market fund above the fixed deposit simply because of the flexibility it provides. There is no limit on how much can be invested in these two accounts. So after putting your 1 month's expenses into your bank savings account and maxing out your Time Bank Gold Savings account, you can put whatever is left of your emergency fund in either of these options or both. By doing this, I believe that you have optimized your emergency fund strategy to the best of your ability. And you can now rest peacefully knowing that you have a safety cushion should something terrible happen, and that the value of this safety cushion is protected against the eroding effect of inflation. But this is just my opinion. I am curious, what is your emergency fund strategy? Let me know down in the comments. It is always lekker to hear what other people's ideas are, as it ensures that we can all learn from each other, which is what this channel is all about. So make sure to like and subscribe. Bye!